What is going on, guys? This is LSU Recruiting HQ. I am your host, Michael. I hope you're having a blessed Friday. It is January 5th, 2024, and today we're talking about coaching, right? The biggest topic right now in LSU, besides recruiting, which is like what we base our whole thing off of, right? But yet here we are talking about coaching searches because I lied. We're going to talk a little bit about Bryce Underwood, who commits tomorrow. So I can't say it's all about coaching searching, but that's basically what we're going to be talking about most today, right? As many of you guys know by now, Matt House and almost the entire defensive staff have been let go. I believe the outside linebackers coach was the only one on the staff retained. Matt House, of course, coached the inside linebackers, so that position, was coached by him. Defensive backs, Kerry Cooks and Robert Steeples gone. And kind of relief for some LSU fans. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay guys' careers, right? Because I understand that this is a business, and there's a human aspect to this, right? Like these people have jobs, and we're using this to provide for their family. So sentiment for that, but as a fan base, this is something that had to happen. Like LSU was um, too bad to vouch for some of these guys and what they were doing, and recruiting on the defensive side of the ball wasn't going well in certain positions. So I think that's kind of why you saw that. And then the overall defensive scheme and stuff like that just wasn't working. He had a little bit of success in 2022, but you were still very poor in other areas. And then you add that within the not being able to recruit guys, the guys in the portal just not working out, just stuff like that, man. So it was a collective effort from the entire defensive staff on why LSU's defense was so bad this year. And you go back and look at the tape from the very first game we broke down, the Florida State game. Biggest concern was definitely the defensive backs, and they never really improved. And then you have injuries and other stuff that's on top of it, and it was just not a good mix. And the coaching staff didn't feel great when they were hired. Um, and I gave Brian Kelly the benefit of the doubt, but I think a lot of us were pretty astounded, like some of the defensive staff wasn't retained. um, and so we are where we are now, right? So let's talk about the defensive coordinator first. Obviously, the most important defensive coaching position to fill. Right now, everybody is reporting that Blake Baker is the guy. I seem to feel that way as well. When you initially dove into the list, right, Blake Baker's name made a lot of sense. A guy with a lot of Louisiana ties, coached with Joe Sloan at Louisiana Tech, played at Tulane. I believe his wife went to LSU, played soccer, and then obviously he's coached at LSU, right? He was the linebackers coach in 2020. A lot of people give him credit for what Damone Clark became. Was that 21? I'm not sure. I think it was 21. He was there. He was only there for one season, but he came from being the defensive coordinator at Miami, where he didn't do a great job, got fired. The whole staff got fired at Miami though, so you can't really necessarily blame that on him. But the whole staff at Miami got fired. He comes in as the linebackers coach at LSU, does a tremendous job, ends up getting the Missouri defensive coordinator job, right? And since he's been in Missouri, man, he's done a tremendous job. 41st in total defense in the NCAA. Oh no, that was Matt House. Excuse me. They were 34th in defense in both 2022 and 2023. They allowed 341 yards, 336 yards per game. And obviously, everybody remembers what happened the most recently, right? As holding Ohio State to 3 points in the bowl game, the Cotton Bowl. And so they kind of have that in mind. And I know Blake Baker is a great recruiter. I know he has Louisiana ties. I know people love that about him. And that's kind of what we're looking for, is just like a steady hand. He's one of the younger coaches in the profession right now, on the rise. And my opinion on it was, maybe he really likes Missouri, right? Maybe he wants to stay there. Maybe they have this plan for him. It's like, hey man, stick it out, and then you could be a head coach in the here coming future, right? If you keep putting together seasons like this, and that could all be well and good. They just gave him an extension, I believe, and And so you have that aspect of it, but if you're if you're Blake Baker, right, and you if your dream is to be a head college football coach, why do you not go to LSU? I'm being serious. Like, think about that. Like, take a second and really think about like what LSU offers to these coaches. It would suck for LSU, absolutely. Like, if in 2 years, like, he got the defense right, LSU started winning a bunch, and because he would leave, he would absolutely leave. I mean, just look at what Brian Kelly did with the defensive coordinators up at Notre Dame, right? You have Marcus Freeman, right, who's the coach now, who was assistant under him. You have a guy like Mike Elko, um, who's the head coach at Texas A&M now. So it's like it's not a surprise that that could happen, right? And so if you're Blake Baker and if that's really your goal, right? What better place are you gonna be able to accomplish that in the quickest amount of time than LSU, right? Or if you go to Georgia, or if you go to like these top 1% programs with abundance of resources, talent, all of that stuff being said, like why do you not make that move? Now, I don't even know if he has interest in the job, right? I'm assuming he does, right? Because of his ties to Louisiana. He has interest. I don't know if LSU's even offered him. It's just all the reports, that's the name that keeps popping up, right? And so that's why we're talking about it. Like I said, if you're Blake Baker and you do a deep dive into what you want out of your career, what can get you to that head coaching position quicker than taking this defensive coordinator job at LSU? Right? If you're at Missouri, yeah, you might put together a couple seasons. You might go coach a group of five team in 2 or 3 years, right? But who knows what college football looks like in 2 to 3 years, right? Like that is probably the biggest unknown. If you're at LSU, right, you might be able to even skip out on that G5 level and go straight into a Power 5 coaching job. Like if you do a good enough job, like that is a real possibility that you could do that. So so you have to kind of weigh your options here. If you're Blake Baker, if you're LSU, like I've heard that LSU is going to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, and I don't necessarily agree with that because they get bit by that a lot. But if you have a problem and you have to fix it, sometimes it costs, right? And it costs money to get Matt House out of here. It costs money to bring Blake Baker in here. I understand all that. Just where LSU is at financially with the NIL stuff going on, I just feel like, and then you go look at every year since 2020, they've had the highest defensive coordinator or a top five paid defensive coordinator almost every single year, right? Besides the Durante Johnson year. So, I mean, and none of those guys worked out. So, Durante Johnson was the best one, and he was probably the cheapest paid. Like, you went and paid Bo Bellini like a crazy amount of money to be your defensive coordinator. And paid Matt House to be a crazy amount of money to be your defensive coordinator. So, the money part of it kind of concerns me, obviously, but I understand, and it's not like I'm saying don't go get Blake Baker because he costs too much, right? And else you can't afford it and all that good stuff. Like, I'm not saying that at all, right? I'm saying it's just concerning, right? The trend of recent coaches. Hopefully, this will turn the page to that. Obviously, when you hire coaches, the coaching spectrum changes year by year. So, like in 2 years, Blake Baker's not going to be the highest paid defense coordinator, even if he is this year, right? But when you pay that kind of money, man, you want to see results. Like, I don't want to see a bottom 100 defense again. And that's like, the biggest fear is because I don't know if LSU has the players yet to produce a defense that's good enough for Blake Baker to succeed at LSU. I don't know if it's good enough for anybody to see it as like the numbers are bad, especially in the secondary, and that's where going to bring me to my next point. We're going to talk about Corey Raymond and Corey Raymond coming back to LSU. Now that's the only name I've heard so far in this whole. Early on, I heard Patrick Surtain Sr., but I don't think that's not happening. He's from New Orleans, but he's a Florida State alum. Like, you're not getting him away from Florida State. But that would be a tremendous hire as well. I think that's your knock it out the park home run hire if you want to hire a DB's coach right now, right? Like, go look at that recruiting class. And he had KJ Bolden in that class for a majority of that time until Georgia threw the bag at him there on signing day. So, like, go look at that class and you tell me, like, you don't want that dude recruiting for your school. But Corey Raymond at Florida, at LSU the last couple years, a lot of people are saying like, hey, he's done, right? He's washed or whatever you want to say, whatever narrative you're trying to fit. And I'm here to tell you that narrative is BS because Corey Raymond knows what he's doing. Corey Raymond knows how to recruit. All right, I can't vouch for what happened at Florida because I really don't know. Like I just know Florida's a shit show, right? In general, so I'm not necessarily gonna look at the Florida stuff and be like, oh, well, their DBs weren't good at Florida, so he's obviously not doing a good job. Like I don't know I didn't watch Florida, but twice in 2 seasons when he was there, right? I watched them when they played LSU, and I didn't really pay much attention to other stuff other than that. So what he did at Florida is kind of irrelevant to me. But you talk about what he did at LSU, right? Everybody likes to bring up the 2020, 21 years, right? And absolutely, like, those were terrible years, especially for the secondary. But, like, just taking the dynamic of what was going on with LSU at the time, and just try to take that into account. Like, granted, I'm not excusing, and I could be wrong. Like, I could be absolutely, like, LSU could hire Corey Raymond, and he could do a terrible job. But I just know that Corey Raymond wants to be at LSU, which is a huge thing for me, right? Somebody who wants to be here, who's going to give his all for this university every single day and recruit and develop and do what it takes to get LSU back on the map in that side of the ball, because he wants to be here. Like, he didn't want to be at Florida, all right? He wanted to be here the whole time. How Brian Kelly looked over all that, I don't know. I've already didn't even get an interview when the initial coaching staffs were hired. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that Corey Raymond is better than the two guys you just had. I mean, just go look at the guys Corey Raymond's recruited, right? And this is what it takes. It takes players. Like, it takes an entire defensive staff to build a good defense. But if you don't have players, like, your defense isn't going to be good. I hate to break it to y'all. So when you bring Corey Raymond in, that's the number one thing you're bringing in a guy who could bring in dudes like dogs. Like, he goes in Louisiana, and he gets Wardell Mack, right? He gets Derek Williams out of Westgate and doesn't let him go to Texas. Like, those guys don't leave anymore, right? So you get the guys in state, and then you guys that just want to come play for him because of what he's done. Like when Corey Raymond walks in your house and be like, hold on, man, let me call Jamal Adams and let him talk to you. Or let me call Tre'Davious White and let him talk to you, man, and tell you what's up and what it's like to be an LSU Tiger and to carry that DBU brand. Like, that is a real thing. Like, people come and play for him. Like Derek Stingley, like Eli Ricks did. Like, stuff like that is real. So if they hire Corey Raymond, I'm going to be ecstatic, right? Because granted, it might not work. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'll take my chances with a guy who loves LSU and wants to do what's right for the university and who can recruit and develop, is proven, and around a great defensive staff. If they hire Blake Baker and put Corey Raymond in that staff, like, you hire a great defensive staff around Corey Raymond and around Blake Baker and around anybody else you decide to hire, like, that's a real thing. Like, that could change this defense overnight. And let's talk about the final name and probably this is probably, to me, the most important hire. Like, obviously, defensive coordinator is the most important hire, but, like, you have got to nail this defensive line coach. Like, it's got to happen. The only name I've heard so far is Bo Davis at Texas. And I'm telling you guys, if you land Bo Davis, LSU alum, kid goes to Southeastern. Just throwing that out there, right? A guy from Louisiana. You get Bo Davis in here to coach this defensive line, you're instantly better. Instantly better. You're 100% better than you were 5 minutes before you hired him, right? He is that kind of impactful coach. I don't know if y'all seen the video of him dogging out Texas players on that bus. But, like, that's before I knew who Bo Davis was. And now that I know who Bo Davis is, that's the kind of guy I want in my defensive line room. Like, I want that guy who's going to get these dudes nasty, like, and junkyard dog style, like, getting after him, right? And Bo Davis, being from Louisiana, recruiting this state is crucial, guys. getting guys like Dominic McKinley in here are so important. And Bo Davis is that guy. Like, you see what he did with Texas's defensive line. They were one of the best, if not the best, defensive line in the country. All right, Bo Davis knows what he's doing, and you can't have a situation where you're continuing to recruit guys and tell them like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have to hire another defensive line coach this year." It's just not working out. So you can't have a situation where whoever you hire at defensive line is here for a year or even 2 years. Like, you need stability. Like, that is a must. I don't even care if it's Bo Davis or not. Whoever you hire, it's got to be a 4 to 5 year plan guy. Like, you can't have that situation happen like it's been. It just can't happen. So those are the three names that I really want to talk about the most. Those are the three names that are popping up on everybody's radar right now. And I hope all three of those guys are wearing purple and gold in the fall, coaching this LSU defense. Now let's talk about Bryce Underwood. If you've made it this far in the show, man, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you, like I said, if you're still watching this, man, God bless you, because we're blowing out a lot of hot air today. But it's much necessary air because we gotta get the stories out, man. We gotta talk about stuff like this. It's talking season officially, right? There is no off season, but there is talking season, and that's what we're in now. So we're gonna talk about Bryce Underwood. He is committing tomorrow on January 6th. If you're watching this on Friday, it is tomorrow. If you're watching this tomorrow on Saturday, it's today. So keep an eye out. Follow LSU Recruiting. Turn on the notifications because we're breaking it whenever it happens, whoever he goes to. But if you guys weren't feeling as confident as I was, man, go check out some of the guys putting in like crystal balls and RPM picks. Like, we're talking about like 85, 90% confidence. Like, this is in the bag kind of thing. And we're talking about a 2025 class that is already loaded and is going to be, and mark my words, like, you can record this. Like, where's the look at me in my eyes right now. If Bryce Underwood commits to LSU tomorrow, LSU will sign the #1 class in the country. And it will be the best recruiting class in LSU football history. All right, got it. Show's over. That's all I wanted to say, really. So I'm not gonna go break it down. I don't even know when this dude's announcing. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna try to find a time right now, and we're gonna figure it out. All right, announcement time is 4:30 Central Time. So if you're doing something at 4:30 Central Time tomorrow, cancel it. You got shit to do. All right? And if you aren't doing something, make sure you're behind is watching this. All right? Because it's going to be huge. Right? Like, I don't think y'all understand how big of a deal this is, because we've kind of been like leaning LSU for like months now. And it's kind of like, oh, we're just waiting for him to commit. But like, when he actually does, like, that is a huge deal. Like, you're getting the #1 player in the country, the #1 quarterback in the entire class. Like, that is a humongous deal. Like, he watched what Joe Burrow did. He watched what Jaden Daniels did. He watched what all these quarterbacks have done at LSU, and he was like, I want to go there. I want to play with dogs like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and Kyron Lacey and people like that. Like, I want to play in that offense, and I can't blame him. I want to too. All right? That's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope you guys are having a blessed Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, like I said, man, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel. Like, we got to get to 1,000. All right? We're at almost 800. All right? We got to get to 1,000. That's the goal. All right? So if you can help me make that happen, by God bless you. All right? Y'all have a great rest of y'all's weekend. I will see you guys soon. Like I said, make sure, if you're not already, man, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. The whole Bryce Underwood stuff, we're covering all of that all weekend. And I will see you guys next time.